Welcome to Toastmaster Time, the show that has everyone talking. I'm Justin Mendez, and I'll be your host for this edition of Toastmaster Time. Just like any other Toastmaster meeting, we have speakers and we have an evaluator to give them feedback and help them improve their speaking skills. For tonight, our evaluator is Ashley Harkness. Welcome to the show, Ashley.
Well, Justin, it's great to be with you again. Tonight we have two good speakers who are going to have lots of fun. They are Ovidilio Vasquez and Victoria Lopez. They'll be giving their number 10 speech from the Competent Communicator Manual, and I'm sure we're going to all be enthralled by their performance.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ashley. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Ovidilio Vasquez. Ovidilio, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Justin. I'm glad to be here.
Ovidilio, I know that you're from Toastmasters Leadership Club because that's the club that I'm from, but tell us a little bit about how you heard about Toastmasters.
Well, I heard about Toastmasters when I decided to become a professional speaker. I used to watch other speakers on YouTube, and they said, first thing you have to do to harness your speaking skills, go to Toastmasters. And so that's what I did. And it has been really, really fun. The leadership club that I go to right now is super duper. I'm learning a lot from the leaders in the club.
Great. So you feel that going to Toastmasters has definitely helped you hone your speaking skills?
A lot, especially my communication at home. You know, everything pretty much starts at home. I see the difference. And in my professional career, people have given me good feedback.
Wonderful. That's great. Are you ready to give your speech?
I'm ready to go.
Great. I'll give you a couple minutes to prepare, and while you're doing that, I'm going to talk to our viewers at home a little bit about what a manual speech is. In Toastmasters, we have a number of different speeches. Each one has a variety of different projects with different objectives and different goals for the speaker to work on and to achieve. So tonight, I'm going to go ahead and welcome back our evaluator, Ashley Harkness, to tell us a little bit about the objectives that Ovidilio is going to be working on. Ashley?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Well, this is the number 10 speech. It's an inspirational speech. It's an opportunity for the speaker to show us the skills that they had learned in all of the other presentations. But there are certain objectives that we should be watching for. This is an inspirational speech, as I said, and it's supposed to appeal to the noble motives of the people who are in the audience. It is supposed to challenge them to raise themselves to a higher level of skill and achievement. Also, we are to be seeing him appeal to the audience needs in terms of emotions, using stories, anecdotes, and adding drama.
Wonderful. Ashley, I'm looking forward to this speech, and I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and your feedback at the end. Now let's go to Ovidilio. Ovidilio Vasquez, The American Dream. The American Dream, Ovidilio Vasquez.
The American Dream. We've all heard about it, right? Since we were little in school, they said, there is no other dream but the American dream, not Japanese dream, not a Russian dream. I'm about to give you some key points on what people that come from different countries do and the actions they take to become successful. We've all seen them all around, right? They're all around us. I'm one of them too. I came to the United States and I learned English and I've done a lot. First thing I want to tell you is you have to be willing to model people. Be a good student of life. When I wanted to become a professional speaker, I searched for more professional speakers. Let me tell you a little story. There's a little camel that asked his mom, Mom, would you tell me why do we have big humps? The mom said, yes, son. I'll tell you why. Because we're camels, animals of the desert. That's why we need big humps to store water. I said, okay. Mom, why do we have long legs? Mom said, well, we're animals of the desert. Therefore, we need long legs to walk long distances. Little camel says, okay. Mom, why do we have wide feet? Mom said, well, we're animals of the desert. Therefore, we need wide feet to walk on the sand easily. Little camel said, okay. Then he said, Mom, why are we in the zoo? Ladies and gentlemen, many of you are just like that little camel. You have qualities, but you need to take them to the right place, where it pays, what will help you accomplish your dream. Another key I'll tell you about is you have to be willing to go through a struggle, overcome adversity. How do you do that? You have to keep in mind that it's not over until you win. It's not over until you win. Let me tell you a little story. Back in 2009, I was in high school. My mom left to my home country to take care of my grandma. She was really sick. One day my mom called me and said, "Your grandma just passed away." And I wanted to give up. I felt really bad. My grandma raised me. But then it came to mind that if I would go and ask my grandma, "Grandma, I want to give up," she would have said, "Are you stupid?" And then I realized we don't live forever. And if we are going to go after our dreams, our goals, those things that we desire, that we dream at night, the things that we see on TV, and by the way, whenever you watch the TV, think about it. Do you want to be on the outside or on the inside of it? And that's your American dream. Another key I want to talk to you about is persistent. You have to be willing to go through struggle. Sometimes, like Les Brown says, you're going to fall on your back. But if you can look up, you can get up. Your reason will let you, allow you, and help you to get up. Remember, it's not over until you win. You have to remember, it's possible. It's possible. And the last thing I will tell you about is gratitude. Be grateful for what you already have right now. Be grateful for the clothing that you have, for the shoes, for the underwear, for everything. Be grateful for your family, your friends. If you have a cell phone, be grateful for it. Notice that there is abundance in the world. They print money every day. There is a lot. Enough for you, for me, and for our neighbor next door. Be grateful for what you already have, because gratitude is the key to unlock happiness. Remember, first have a dream, put a date to it so it becomes a goal. Be willing to go through the struggle. Be willing to overcome the adversities. And then be persistent. Push through it. If you fall on your back, if you can look up, you will get up. Let your reason help you get up. You deserve the best that life has to offer. There is abundance in this world. And then, again, be grateful for what you have. Pray to your God or the greater force that you believe in and go after your American dream.
Well, Ashley, what did you think of Ovidilio's speech?
Very moving, very moving. He had very important points for us as advice on how to achieve our own individual dreams. So you noticed he talked about having the dream, overcoming the adversity, persistence, and also to be grateful and have gratitude. These are important points for us, and he had the opportunity to add emotion to them and drama. We saw the story about the camel and we wondered where that was going. But in fact, it had a point that he said, you have to know where you are and take your qualities to the right place.
Sure.
Very important point. At the end, he talks about gratitude. Not very many people remember that. So as far as hitting his points, he challenged the audience to improve themselves, and at the same time, he was using the stories and the anecdotes as required by the speech. He did a great job. Good job.
I agree. I definitely think he did a great job. And you know, I really enjoyed the story about his grandmother. What did you think of that?
Every time you bring someone who's had an impact in your past up to the surface and talk about it, it's usually a very emotional moment. It brings back mind images that you have about when you were a child, when things were happening, the lessons you were taught and what you learned. It's a very important, impactful moment for us.
Sure. He made it easy for all of us in the audience here in the studio and for our viewers at home to be able to relate to it. Everybody has a grandmother, right?
Yes, pretty much,
So
yes.
we can all relate to that. And
talking about a common experience, and
Sure.
yes.
Definitely. He did a great job. What is it about the Project 10 speech that is your favorite? And tell me a little bit about how you saw that in Ovidilio's speech.
Well, when you first start out in Toastmasters, of course, the first speeches are learning how to do things and control things. By the time you get to the 10th speech, you've done 10 speeches, and you've learned a couple of things. First of all, you're not going to die. It's going to work. Secondly, you know better how to conduct yourself in front of the audience, in this case, the camera. As we saw, Ovidilio was able to really translate his experience into something that we could understand. He rang a bell within all of us. That's what the inspirational speech is supposed to be about, and I feel that he did that.
Definitely, I completely agree. It was a great compilation. He used a lot of the other objectives from the first 9 speeches,
Correct.
Put them into this 10th speech. And I have to say, as inspiring as this speech is, I'm sure his book that's coming out will be just as inspiring. And I've heard his personal story, and that is another inspiring tale. And I just gotta say, I really enjoyed that speech. Now with that, Ashley, thank you so much for your comments. We're gonna take a break here. I'm Justin Mendez, and you're watching Toastmaster Time. We'll be back with you right after this PSA.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease
Freedom
like this,
requires leadership,
there are
and
no
leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that has everyone talking. I'm your host, Justin Mendez, and with me now is our second speaker, Victoria Lopez. Victoria, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Tell us how you heard about Toastmasters.
Actually, the first time that I heard about Toastmaster was through my life coaching teacher. After I finished my life coaching sections, and he told me about it. Since then, I have been joining the Toastmaster.
Great.
It has been a great experience.
Wonderful. And what club are you currently in?
Yeah, I am in the Fremont and CVC,
Okay, great.
Fremont, California.
And as far as your suggestion from your life coach, has Toastmasters met that? Do you feel like it's lived up to?
Oh, yes, definitely. Yes, yes. It has been a very interesting experience, especially the idea that you had to deal with so many people, different people in the club. Very interesting, very good, yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing your speech. Are you ready to give it?
Of course, yes.
Great.
I'm ready.
We'll give you a moment to get settled. And while you're doing that, I'm going to talk to our viewers at home a little bit about Toastmasters International. As I just mentioned, Toastmasters is an international organization. We have clubs and members all over the world. There are clubs in about 90 different countries, and we have several 100,000 Toastmaster members around the world. Wherever you are, I can pretty much guarantee you there's a club near you. Now let's talk a little bit with our evaluator, Ashley Harkness, about what objectives Victoria is going to be working on tonight. Welcome back, Ashley.
And thank you, Justin. Victoria's speech is the number 10 speech from the Competent Communicator Manual, and it gives her a chance to use all of the skills that she was picking up as she went along through the first 9 projects. She does have some objectives. One of them is to inspire by appealing to the noble motives in the audience. She's supposed to be using different, let's say, stories and anecdotes to add drama to this presentation, and also see that we achieve at a higher level in our skill levels.
Wonderful. Ashley, I'm looking forward to hearing more of your feedback as we go through the show. Are you ready to hear another great speech?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Victoria Lopez, goal setting leads you to success. Goal setting leads you to success. Victoria Lopez.
Is goal setting leading you to success? Who believes that? Every year, every new year, we get so excited setting goals. However, very few of us accomplish that. Why is that? Perhaps there are many factors that can influence us not to accomplish our goal. First of all, can be we're not too serious about it, we're not motivated, perhaps wasn't a spontaneous New Year's talk, or we don't even know how to set goals. And if that's the case, I'm going to give you some advice that will help you how to set goals. First, keep in mind, when you want to set the goals, your goal has to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. Every single goal starts as a dream. But if you visualize, yeah, it is possible to achieve. But if you schedule it, it's real. You probably wonder, okay, how I'm going to do this? How I'm going to schedule my goal? The first thing that you have to do is to be sure exactly what do you want, exactly what do you want to accomplish in order to set your goals. Can be a very simple things, like for example, you want to become a better person, control your temper, or perhaps you want to be recognized, have more recognition at work, or you want to become like a very successful person. The good thing is whatever you want, you can do it. Once you identify what do you want for your goal, so you start measuring how long it's going to take you to accomplish that particular goal. If it is a very long-term goal, that's fine too, don't worry. What you can do, you break it in a small goal, weekly, monthly, and yearly. Then you start, once you identify the long of the goal, start thinking about if it is attainable. Like for example, if you tell me, oh, I want to increase my salary, doing more sales, yeah, it is possible. If you sell more, of course you're going to get more money. But if you tell me, I want to get $1 million buying the lotto, guess what? That goal is not going to be, it's not real. It's the possibilities for you to get that $1 million is very low. Remember, your goal has to be realistic. Otherwise, it seems to be impossible to get, and you're going to give up, and you're not going to do it. Another factor that is very important to keep in mind, that you're going to find a lot of people during the process that is going to be very negative. Avoid those kind of people that you're going to cross through the process. Don't, if it is don't worry about those people, don't pay attention, just think about yourself, think that is all about you. Make a commitment to yourself, nobody else, okay? And also, use all the resources you have, books, friends, feedback, and finally, I will give you an advice. Remember, if it is to be, it's up to you, nobody else.
Well, Ashley, another wonderful speech. What did you think?
When you're doing an inspirational speech, one of the things that you have to do is clearly establish what goals and what methods you're going to use in how you're going to convey this particular aspect. It's very important. They all link together. You noticed that Victoria told us about how she was helped by a life coach. Now, maybe that's interesting right off the bat, but it's hard to say, how does that really work? Well, she says, I'll tell you. And then she talks about her life experiences and giving us an awful lot of advice on, for example, what she had to follow. Also, what you can do for yourself, a host of different things that make it possible for us to better understand what her goals are and how to accomplish them. It's inspiring to watch another person as they develop and realize that they have the potential to do anything they wish. She cautioned us, however, to say, she said, look, make sure that you stay away from negative people. There's always somebody who's going to say, you know, hey, you're not going to do that. That's not going to happen to you. And her advice, I think, is literally push them aside and keep moving.
Sure.
Make sure your plans, your goals are there. Go for it.
Sure. She talked to us a little bit about setting SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely, I believe is what that acronym is. That was great. I really enjoyed it. And another thing that I really enjoy about these Project Number 10 speeches and Toastmasters in general is that we can have, just like we had tonight, two speakers giving two different projects, and the same project, and having two completely different speeches, both which have great value. And I think both of our speakers did that. And tell me a little bit more about the objectives that you think. You mentioned how Toastmasters, this is the 10th speech.
Yes.
And it has different elements from the beginning 9 speeches. Tell us some of those other elements that you thought Victoria used well.
Victoria used, one of the presentations we have is about using words properly, using them succinctly, making sure we're using sentence structure that is correct, of course the right grammar and all of those things. She was very precise in the use of her speech. She had specific words that meant exactly what she had in mind. This is very good. This is wordsmithing. This is really important because it creates the image in the mind of the audience of her ideas. It isn't vague. And she talked about that. She said, if you're going to have a goal, make sure it's a real goal, it's realistic, because if it isn't, in her sense, she said, if you just want to make $1 million, that doesn't mean anything. But if you want to make more money, it's easy to set up goals for that. And this is what they have for all of the speeches. Each one of them has a goal for a speaker to practice and improve on some skill they already have. So in her case, I saw word usage and grammar. I also heard her using vocal variety, which is important. I think that she had a good opportunity to use gestures, but in this kind of an environment right here in front of the television camera, it's kind of hard to do that. But she did a very good job of this. All of the parts here can't really be singled out individually. You have to look at her speech as a sum total of the usage of all these bits and pieces. Some of them are very small in their impact, and others are very, very large. But all in all, I think it comes down to, again, seeing a person skillfully weaving a story that inspires us to move ahead with ourselves.
Definitely, and she accomplished that. I have a number of goals set, but I think I might go home tonight and set a few more. I don't know about yourself. That's definitely on my agenda now.
Well, remember, she ended up by saying it's up to you to make these work. That means if your goal is to practice the piano, you are the one who has to do that.
That's right.
Yes, and nobody's going to make you do it if you intend to really get it. That's the whole point of this thing. Really, it's her example of saying, my life experience convinced me on how to make my life better, and you can too, but it's up to you.
I totally agree. It's all up to us, and Toastmasters is all about making it up to you. No one's forcing you to give speeches if you don't want to. You can work at your own pace, and you definitely see the benefits of it.
I actually have told people that when they've said to me, well, people are going to put pressure on me to do speeches. And I said, no, 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 no. This is your program. You do what you want. In fact, I actually told a lady one time, I said, don't talk at all, don't speak. Amazingly, a year later, she had completed the 10 speeches and was moving forward. Wow. I had given her permission to do it her way, herself.
Sure, definitely. Ashley, I always love hearing your feedback. We're going to talk a little bit more. And for now, we're going to go to a break. You're watching Toastmaster Time. I'm your host, Justin Mendez. We'll be back with you shortly.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Welcome back to Toastmaster Time, the show that has everybody talking. I'm your host, Justin Mendez, And now we're going to hear about Ashley Harkness's 10th speech.
Oh, thank you very much. That's a great football to throw at me.
I just thought that since we heard 2 great Project 10 speeches tonight, we should hear a little bit from a veteran like yourself.
Well, I'll tell you what, in my 10th speech, the first time I did it, it was about family values. And I used the idea of being a parent who had to take the responsibility for the people around him, not only himself, but his children, and also the support of his wife. And one of the things that I used as an image was, over and over again, I talked about getting my son to take out the garbage. Now, this is something a lot of people could identify with. So I talked about how I had to coerce him. That didn't work. I had to entice him. That didn't work. And finally, I had to say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just lock you in the room and you can live with it. And that didn't work either. The fact of the matter was, the inspiration was that no matter what you tried, if it didn't work, you just kept on trying.
Sure.
As I said in the end, you just keep reaching into that bag and pulling out ideas. Something will work. That was my 10th speech.
Very nice. So you're telling me that telling a teenage boy you're going to put garbage in his room isn't going to make him take out the trash?
Well, you know, telling a teenage boy anything isn't going to make him do anything. I'm a good example of that. I remember when I was a teenager. But the reality is that the speech has to be a construct. It has to be able to convey these images and change the view of the audience. So that was my goal.
Great. Do you think you did it?
Well, I don't know. How about your number 10 speech?
My number 10 speech, if I told you about it, we'd need a time machine. So if you want to hop in my DeLorean, we can discuss that. Because
You have a DeLorean? You have a DeLorean?
I'm glad that that's the part you're amazed by. Well, I'll tell you more about that maybe in our next episode.
I'll be looking forward to that.
Definitely. Well, thanks for joining us tonight in this edition of Toastmaster Time. I'm your host, Justin Mendez. If you'd like to view more episodes of Toastmaster Time, and I encourage you to do so, visit toastmastertime.com. For local information about clubs in our area, in the Bay Area, you can visit d57tm.org. And for information about Toastmasters International, to find a club near you around the world, you can visit toastmasters.org. We are very, very grateful for our staff of volunteers here in Palo Alto at the Media Center. And with that, I encourage everyone to go ahead and keep talking. Thanks for joining us in tonight's episode of Toastmaster Time.